Welcome aboard Imagination Skyway, your grand podcast tour of the magic. I'm your host, Matthew Krull, and in today's episode, we're going to continue our resort-focused series by discussing Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, including Jambo House and Kidani Village. Bringing the enchantment of an African reserve lodge to the Walt Disney World Resort, Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge serves as an extension to Disney's Animal Kingdom theme park, incorporating architectural, artistic, cultural, and culinary inspiration from the real African continent to give guests a safari-like experience that feels as authentic as its neighboring theme park. In this episode, we discuss everything you need to know about staying at this deluxe-level resort, share reasons why you might want to stay here, and offer suggestions about how to decide between Jambo House and Kidani Village. At the end of the show, we'll return to Imagination Central, where I'll share ways in which you can stay connected with Imagination Skyway, how you can discuss this topic with others, and how you can help support and inspire the future of this show. Please remain seated, keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times, and enjoy your Grand Circle tour aboard Imagination Skyway. So after last year's episode about Disney's Coronado Springs Resort, immediately I received a number of messages and emails asking if we could do more of these. And I wanted to make sure I went and visited the resorts before I produced these episodes and was thinking about which one to do next, and decided to stick with the Animal Kingdom area and jump over to Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, which includes a discussion about Jambo House and Kidani Village. I received lots of questions on social media about this resort and also have a lot to share. So I'm excited to talk about it. And in order to have a fun discussion, an informative discussion about this really amazing pair of resorts, I wanted to welcome and introduce back Kelly Craig from KMV Travel. Kelly, how are you doing?
Doing good, Matt. I'm excited to be back, and I love this resort. So I was so excited when you asked if I would come on and talk about it. Of course, I said yes.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have you talk about this resort with us. It's absolutely, it used to be, I used to say it was in my top 3 resorts. And I have to be honest, nowadays, the way that Disney resorts have been remodeled and updated, and as my experiences have changed, as my preferences have changed, now having a 2-year-old, it's hard to place where Animal Kingdom Lodge is in my mind. And especially between Kidani and Jambo House, there's really amazing options. And either way, if you tell me, if someone invites me to go stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge, it's a very easy yes. Like I still absolutely love staying here. But it's a very unique resort, and it has some wonderful features that you can't find anywhere else. Of course, the animals being one of those key highlights. But I want to start with some fun questions just to warm us up before we get into the discussion about the lodge or the lodges that are here. So these are all specific to Animal Kingdom or Animal Kingdom Lodge, and I like to get a little bit more niche with these rapid fire questions these days. So first question for you, and I'm going to answer them too. What is your favorite live animal to see at Disney?
Oh, definitely the giraffes. And I think that's honestly because of Animal Kingdom Lodge, because I remember the first time we stayed there, staying at a savanna view, and you go out onto your deck and there's a giraffe right there, and I'm drinking my coffee, and it was the coolest experience ever. So definitely a giraffe.
I am envious of that, by the way. I did not get to see too many giraffes the time I did have a savanna view at Jambo House. We'll talk about this, but we had animals are creatures of habit. So we had, it seemed like the same exact animals outside our balcony every single day, and the giraffes were way in the distance. We still saw them, but man, I love having a cup of coffee on that balcony in the morning at Jambo House. So giraffes, great answer. My answer is not one you can see at Animal Kingdom Lodge, but one you could see at Animal Kingdom, and it's the elephants. They have a special place in my heart. Having worked at Kilimanjaro Safaris, I'd say that they are the heart of the attraction. They have been since the beginning. They're not, of course, the only ones, but the story revolved around them for a long time, and they're just wonderful creatures. So elephants are my favorite to see. All right. second question. I only have three of these. What is your favorite land at Disney's Animal Kingdom?
Ooh, that's actually a hard one to pick because I think all of them are like exceptional over at Animal Kingdom. But I think I'm actually going to pick Asia because I just love the feeling that you get when you walk through that land and just the different attractions that are in that area, the dining. I love Yak and Yeti. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with Asia.
That's a great answer. Asia is full of incredible Imagineering details. It's the section of Animal Kingdom I think I talk about the most. But I'm going to hop to the other side of the park and say Pandora, the world of Avatar. I only wish it were bigger, right? It's a
Yes.
small land relative to the others, but between Avatar Flight of Passage, Navi River Journey, seeing the floating mountains at night, and of course the Thule Canteen is my favorite place to eat in the park. It's my favorite land at Animal Kingdom. I felt like I can't say Africa because I work there, so I have a little bit of a bias towards it. But taking Africa
Yeah.
out of the equation, it's got to be a Pandora World of Avatar.
I know,
And
surprised.
yeah, I know. And it's the only part of the park without live animals. Go figure. But the Imagineering behind it is amazing, so that's why I really love
Yes.
it. Um, Third question, last question. Uh, Thinking changing gears to food. What is your favorite drink, snack, or food item that can only be found at Disney's Animal Kingdom or Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge? So we can't say like Bicky Premium Bar or churro, like unless it's a specialty churro. So a specialty snack, food, or beverage from the park or from the lodge. That's your favorite.
Very easy. The zebra teeny with gin, though. And I think, I'll take the alcoholic answer here. And I think
Yeah,
yours will probably be non-alcoholic. So this is perfect.
mine's gonna be food.
Yeah.
So totally switching gears. But actually, surprisingly, the answer I was gonna give, which technically contains alcohol, it doesn't. It's cooked into it, but zebra domes are
Oh,
one of my
yes.
favorites. And we'll talk about the fact that you don't have to necessarily go to Boma to get zebra domes. But then also from the park, the blueberry cream cheese mousse from Satuli Canteen, absolute one of my favorite snacks. I just love to go, and it's not even really a snack; it's a dessert, but it's it's almost like a shareable snack. It's really really good. So that's probably my favorite. But I don't know if this is specific to Nomad Lounge. I feel like it can be found almost anywhere, and I'm thinking about it, but maybe it is specific to Nomad Lounge, which is the Balinese Breeze. If we're talking
Mm,
about drinks. That's my favorite drink.
yeah.
It is non-alcoholic. It's a mountain berry iced tea with, oh goodness, what's in it? It's got lemon juice and I wish I had the menu in front of me. It's got lemon juice and agave. It's really refreshing. I know it has a little
Yeah.
bit, I think a little bit of uh, like seltzer water in it, but it's absolutely refreshing. So if you're just looking for a really hot day at Animal Kingdom and you just need that refreshing beverage, going to Nomad Lounge to have a Balinese Breeze is my favorite. I have to say I'm getting a little upset about how much how popular Nomad Lounge is getting, because last
Yes.
time I went to Animal Kingdom, I looked at the wait time for Nomad Lounge at I think it was like 11 in the morning, and it said they were at capacity and they're not taking the wait list anymore. Could have been the weekend that I was there, but I remember
No,
how it was a hidden secret
unfortunately.
and how everybody knows
Yeah.
about it. So I'm back at Satuli Canteen most days at Animal
Yeah.
Kingdom.
Well, if you ever go, when you don't have little ones with you,
Yeah.
you can just do walk up to the bar, and that's kind of like our trick. But if you have little ones, obviously that's not going to be an option. So then you head over to Satuli.
Yeah. And I've noticed people are starting to take things to go too, just because of how
Yes.
popular
Yeah.
it is. So they
Yeah.
need to expand it or place an outdoor extension that's a quick service option next to it, something just to add to
Yeah.
the capacity because it is really an amazing place to eat at Animal Kingdom.
Definitely.
But all right, we've got a little flavor, literally and figuratively, for our tastes at Animal Kingdom and Animal Kingdom Lodge. So let's talk a little bit about this resort. I might as well start with some of the history of it, and then we'll get into some of the questions that I know a lot of people have. We'll talk about the differences between Jambo House and Kidani Village and the setup and everything else. But um, Animal Kingdom Lodge is a relatively new resort. It's not as new as, say, obviously places like Disney Riviera Resort or Disney's Art of Animation, but Jambo House opened April 16th, 2001. And then Kidani Village, back then it was just called Animal Kingdom Lodge. Then Kidani Village opened May 1st, 2009. And then the original Animal Kingdom Lodge building renamed itself to Jambo House. Um, both names are based on Swahili words. So Jambo, which you'll hear if you visit Disney's Animal Kingdom in Africa, and you'll hear if you visit the lodges, is a Swahili greeting, means hello. And then Kidani is a Swahili word for necklace, and it has that name both because of the art inspiration that's present in both lodges, as well as the shape of Kidani Village is actually a necklace shape, as if it was, an uh, unlocked necklace, just sort of laid out. It has a very similar design to it. So it has a really it opened. The Jambo House opened just a few years after Animal Kingdom opened, and I think that's because while there was Coronado Springs and All Star Resorts really close, there was not a deluxe resort property that was nearby, and this added and that option to Animal Kingdom. So if you are spending a lot of time at Animal Kingdom, or if that is your preference, and you want to sleep in that theme and be in that theme between your park visits, then you have that deluxe resort option that's there for you. It's also, of course, a part of Disney Vacation Club, so people are sometimes, owners of or have their home resort at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and it's obviously got some incredible Imagineering to it. Joe Rohde helped design this resort. He was, of course, the lead Imagineer on Animal Kingdom theme park. It's designed like an African reserve lodge. It's based on a lot of architecture that the Imagineers found in their travels to Africa and to especially the park reserves that they visited. Uh, there, another thing about the architecture, which I love about this resort, is that it was designed by architect Peter Dominic, who also built Disney's Wilderness Lodge and Disney's Grand Californian Resort and Spa. So they all have a very similar feeling when you walk into those three lobbies. Jambo House, Grand Californian, and Wilderness Lodge all have that very similar layout to them, but it's very different at Animal Kingdom Lodge when it comes to the theme. There's a lot more I could say about the lodge, but I thought that those were probably the most important details, other than the fact that I will add, you'll also find not only is the architecture really inspired by a lot of the cultural and architectural elements of the continent itself, but you'll also find an art collection at Animal Kingdom Lodge that is one of the largest African art collections outside of Africa, and one of the largest African art collections in the United States. So they really incorporate a lot of, just like the theme park, a lot of those cultural, artistic, culinary, architectural elements into the design of the lodge itself. So it makes it an amazing place. But anything else, Kelly, that you wanted to add about the design or the history or any other aspect that I might have missed for the overview of the resort?
I don't think so. I was learning things as you were talking, and things were kind of starting to make sense to me, with some of the amenities that they have, some of the activities, why things are called the things that they are, because I didn't realize the necklace piece. So that's really interesting. And now I'm kind of looking at the map and thinking, wow, that really does look like a unclasped necklace. So I think you covered so much of it, and I'm excited to dive into why you should stay there too, because I mean, you sold me, obviously.
Yeah, and I failed to mention also the animals that are there. Obviously, that's a huge part of staying there too. There are a few different savannas. We could talk about savanna view rooms, but according to the Walt Disney World website, there are over 30 species of African wildlife, which the website says include zebra, giraffes, gazelle, kudu, and flamingos. They have wildlife field guides that are in guest rooms, extras that are available at the front desk. You can also learn about African animals and ecosystems. They have programs that are led by animal specialists, so it does feel like an extension of Animal Kingdom theme park. So, one of the biggest questions that people submitted on social media when I polled questions about the resort and that often come up is differences between the two sister properties. It's not very it's a little similar to like Yacht and Beach Club, right? They're two technically different resorts, but they're known as Disney's Yacht and Beach Club Resort. Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, we have, even if you look at the Walt Disney World website, if you're like searching for rates for rooms, you have different breakouts. You have Animal Kingdom Lodge, you have Kidani Village, you have Jambo House. It gets a little confusing. So what are some of the similarities or the differences between Jambo House and Kidani Village?
Yeah, it is extremely overwhelming when I think I get families that will come to me and say they want to stay at Animal Kingdom, but they're like, there's so many different rooms. What do I do? And it is because there are a lot of similarities in terms of you have, deluxe studios at both different properties. But what sells one over the other to a family? So for Kidani, that's really going to be kind of like your home base for DVC or Disney Vacation Club. That's how I always think about it because there aren't the standard rooms over there. But then in Jambo House, that's going to be more of your standard hotel rooms. And then you still do have some of those villas and studios as well. If you are looking at, what's going to push me to Kidani versus Jambo House for a deluxe studio or a villa, Kidani's going to be a little bit bigger in terms of the room size. So it's not a huge amount, but if you have a family of five and you're kind of, you're using that extra space, that extra space makes a big difference. So that might be a difference that you'd like to kind of take advantage of. I think too, with Jambo House, there's a lot more restaurants that are over there than there's going to be at Kidani. So that might be something. And there's also bigger pools over at Jambo House. So if you're thinking about, I want to make sure that I don't really have to ever leave the resort, then maybe Jambo House is your pick. But if you're like, I kind of want a quieter, not as many people, Kidani might be the place that I would recommend sending a family to.
Yeah, those are great way to sort of think about the differences between the two. And I agree, dining is a really big part of that. The room size, you're right. Kidani Village, having literally just stayed there and booked a one bedroom villa, and I posted this on social media. The rate, granted, I did use an annual pass discount, but there were similar discounts that were available at the time. The rate that I got was, in the 500s for a one bedroom villa, which is equivalent to a lot of other sort of standard room deluxe resorts you would get. But there was like over 800 square feet in this one bedroom villa with two bathrooms, sort of a master suite. The bathroom itself, the master bathroom itself, it felt like the size of a small hotel room. It was absolutely tremendous between this walk-in shower. I swear you probably could have put, like 6, 7 people in that shower. It was tremendous. This gorgeous jacuzzi, the Lion King murals on the wall, just the details that are in Animal Kingdom Lodge, but just in general are incredible. And those little Lion King elements that they add in are also a lot of fun in the room. But then I was staying with my cousin, so that's the reason we got a one bedroom villa, was we wanted to separate, to have the two bathrooms to be able to get ready a lot faster in the morning, and then have 3 beds, because we had the king size bed in the master suite, a pull out queen size sleeper sofa, and then a twin size pull out sleeper chair, plus the full size kitchen, the balcony. And we just had a standard view room because we weren't going to be spending too much time at the hotel, just needed everything in that space to get up and go. But the size of the room really blew me away, because now I've been fortunate enough to stay in a few different one bedroom villas, and this definitely felt like the largest at Kidani. But dining is a really big factor when it comes to choosing the resorts, and we'll talk about the specifics of that. Obviously, the differences in the pools. The other thing I'll say is that from a pure thematic feel to it, or a like an energy that you get walking into Jambo House or walking into Kidani Village, Jambo House definitely has that Grand Lodge feeling when you walk into it, very similar to a Wilderness Lodge, or it reminds me a little bit more of Grand Californian, because Wilderness Lodge is really expansive, and probably at least I don't know the actual square footage of it, but it seems like the largest space of those 3 resorts, whereas Jambo House feels a little bit more like the Grand Californian's scale and size in that lobby. But walking into Kidani Village, it feels a lot more intimate and, in my opinion, feels a lot more quote unquote Disney Vacation Club. It just feels like what a lot of members call home. It is generally where you're going to see a lot more vacation club rooms and villas and studios. So it just has a little bit more of that homey. It's not a small resort by any means, but that lobby is a little bit smaller, um, and it
It's
has
more
a
like
little bit more of that.
intimate
Yes, a very
feeling. Yeah.
yeah, a much more
Yeah,
intimate feeling. Uh, Jambo House has that grand feeling when you walk into it. The one thing I
definitely.
forgot to mention, that's I learned this, I think, when I was working at Animal Kingdom or when I was working at Disney Vacation Club. I can't remember which, but the design of the front of Jambo House is very unique because when you enter the lodge, you are walking into the third floor, and that's where the lobby is. And sometimes the lobby's on the second floor, but this is the first time it's on, that I could think of, on the third floor. Um, and the reason for that is because in the design of Animal Kingdom theme park, Joe Rohde and the rest of the team thought it was really important to ensure that nature dominated the architecture and that the architecture didn't dominate the landscape. So that's why there's a lot of really short buildings. You're not going to find a tall. There's no Cinderella Castle. Obviously, the Tree of Life is not a real tree, but it is designed to be something that is part of the natural landscape. So that's the dominant force. Everything that's dominant is natural. The wildlife, the large trees, that's meant to be overpowering or overshadowing the architecture. So you don't really see all those buildings are kind of hidden and low. They wanted functionally a 5-6 story Animal Kingdom Lodge building, but they didn't want it to feel that way when you walked in. So when you walk in on the third floor, you only see 3 or 4 floors from the front. Um, and then even walking into that lodge, you only see 3 or 4 floors above you, but there's actually then two below you, and that added more space for rooms. And yes, on the pool side, you could see the huge lodge from that point of view, but walking into it in the front, you get a very similar feeling of the the wildlife is overpowering or dominating the architecture and not the other way around. So it feels a little bit more authentic that way. So I thought that was a pretty cool little detail that I wanted to add
Yeah.
in there.
It's so funny when you say that. It's like, you think about when you've been there, you're like, oh yeah, of course I'm on a different floor. But when you're there, that never even really, comes to mind, which also is just the magic of Disney. So it's always really cool when you hear these things, then go back and get to experience them.
Yeah, I agree too. Let's talk a little bit about the room types that are available. I talked a little bit about the 1 bedroom villa, and you alluded to the fact earlier that there are a lot of different room types. So, can you talk a bit about what the room options are at both Jambo House and Kidani Village?
Definitely. So it's going to be broken down kind of into four different subsections or so. So we have the rooms and suites, which is going to be your traditional kind of hotel rooms. So, your two queen beds or your one king bed. And then you have different views with that. So a resort view is going to be looking out onto the parking lot or maybe another building or something like that. The kind of upgraded view from there would be your water view, and that's going to be the pool view. And then you have the Savannah view. So Savannah view is, of course, the premium view. You get to wake up and see the animals outside of your room there. Then you have your deluxe studios. And I should say with those rooms, the ones that we just mentioned, those are all going to be in Jambo House. So there aren't going to be any of those over in Kidani Village. The deluxe studios, there'll be one of each of these different kinds at Jambo House as well as Kidani Village. So you have your standard view, your Savannah view, and then there's one that's called a studio, which is a value studio. So that is going to be a very small amount of rooms that are like that. And that's kind of the ones that don't have a, upgraded view. Standard view is going to be where it falls for like a water view or a resort view when we talked about prior to that. Villas are going to be your 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or your 3 bedroom grand villas. And again, same thing with this. There are some in Jambo House, some in Kidani Village. And the difference is just going to be the views that you have for those different villas. And then, like I said before, the size of the room is going to be a little bit bigger in Kidani Village. And the last part is actually the club level, and that's the Kilimanjaro Club. So I feel like you have to stay here, Kilimanjaro. It's
I,
like,
I never have. It's on my
oh,
lists. I've never stayed
yes.
at the Kilimanjaro Club.
Yeah, I was looking at pictures and I mean, I just love the name, obviously, but the club level service is amazing. So I will scream it from the rooftops that it's so worth it. But over in this one, this is a really nice option, especially if you are a DVC member, because there are actually DVC rooms that are club level. So you can get a one bedroom villa or a deluxe studio, and those are both going to be at Jambo House. All of these will be Jambo House. Then there's going to be the Savannah View club level access, a resort view one bedroom suite. So this won't be a DVC room. It will be a standard suite that we kind of see, kind of like in, Grand Floridian or the non-DVC resorts. And then also the resort view one bedroom suite, and then the Savannah View one bedroom suite. So ton of different options. There is definitely something that will fit everybody at Animal Kingdom Lodge, which is why it's always one that I recommend to families if they're not really sure where they want to stay, because it's a nice kind of entry into deluxe, because you can get a lower cost room, but you can also say, hey, I want to have the most deluxe experience and I want to have the Kilimanjaro Club access as well as a Savannah View.
Yeah, it's amazing how many room options there are. It's talking about the DVC club level. It's the only property that has Disney Vacation, that as a Disney Vacation Club member, that you can use Disney Vacation Club points on a. You could transfer out points. It's a little complicated, but when you're talking about just a Disney Vacation Club resort or studios, villas, it's the only one with a club level that you could get as a room type on the points chart. And because of that, it's also the most difficult to get. So
Of
unless you
course,
have the
right?
11-month booking advantage with Animal Kingdom Lodge, unless it's your home resort, it's nearly impossible to get a. Those are the two that go fastest, are the club level and value rooms, because it's like the cheapest points. You're still at Animal Kingdom Lodge for the value rooms, and then the unique opportunity to use points at a club level room. But the oh my gosh, I was just going to ask you a question about the yeah. So because there are so many different types of rooms, two questions here. When it comes to deciding on a room type, I'm going to start with the one that I think is going to be most interesting to people, or the most applicable to the most number of people. You think Animal Kingdom Lodge, and you think Savannah View, right? You have lots of marketing material online and in videos. The anything you see that shows anything about Animal Kingdom Lodge shows that family on their balcony looking out at giraffes and zebras and gazelle and all kinds of animals. As you mentioned, there are other room types. So there's resort views, there's water views, there's value views. When does it make sense to get a Savannah view?
I always say if you are going to be building in a rest day, or you're a family that doesn't, they don't need to rope drop, or you guys like to spend, time back at the room, then it's worth it to get a Savannah View, because you're going to be taking advantage of that extra cost that you're paying. But I think, people kind of look past Animal Kingdom Lodge if they're not going to do the Savannah View. And I always say, check it out if you want to get the deluxe benefits, because you can get the deluxe benefits at a lot cheaper here than you would if you stayed at Polynesian or, some of the other deluxe resorts. So if I have families that are, interested in doing Savannah View, I always encourage them to build in a rest day, because you really want to take advantage of that. But if you are staying at, a resort view room or a water view room, there's still a lot of, big window areas that you can look out onto to the Savannah. So you're not going to miss out on it completely. It's just you're not going to have that experience of, going out onto your patio or your deck and kind of seeing the animals right in the morning.
Yeah, I've stayed in both. So I stayed in a Savannah View room the first time I stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge, because I wanted that Animal Kingdom Lodge experience. And then, like I said last time, we got a standard view, and there is something very um, different about a Savannah View room. It's hard to explain, but just the ability to open your window, you're not even having to step out on the balcony, but just sort of open the curtains and see those live animals in the morning. Like, that's the type of experience that I am really like. If I were going with Maggie, I went without Maggie and we weren't focused on the room too much. But if I were going with Maggie, I absolutely would be splurging on that Savannah View.
Yeah.
Because to your point, like, you can go out and there's plenty of animal viewing areas. You could just pop on downstairs. head on out to Kidani Village. It's sort of like right out of the lobby. Jambo House, you have to navigate a little bit to get there past the pool. But Kidani Village in particular has a lot of animal viewing from the lobby itself. They have these balconies with rocking chairs that you could step out onto. Assuming if it's a busy time, if it's like check in or check out, I find that those rocking chairs are totally full. But if it's in the morning or if it's at this like dinner hour or something, it's generally a little easier to sort of get that rocking chair, or at least again you can sort of walk out. But the difference is with your own balcony, it's quiet, it's your own space. You're not fighting for that chair to sort of sit there. And you talked earlier about that morning cup of coffee or tea or juice or whatever it is that you want in the morning, or in the evening too, and just sort of looking out. But I did find that when we stayed there, the one thing that did take me by surprise, as I mentioned in the beginning, was it's the same animals every single day. Because these animals are creatures of habit. And I forgot that. Like I literally worked at Kilimanjaro Safaris, and while they did roam, it was pretty common behavior to see every single day. Of course, at the Animal Kingdom Lodge as well, you would see very similar animals in a similar region or similar area, because just like anything else, they sort of follow their own little habits and rituals. And so sort of like saw the same zebra every morning, like right outside of our, maybe it was the same zebra. It could have been a different one,
Yeah.
but we always saw like a zebra there and a couple of saddle-billed stork. And so it was very interesting. But anyway, so that sort of tackles the Savannah view, but definitely I agree. Like if you've got little ones with,
Hmm.
and that excitement, like you're not going to get that back. Like when you don't,
Yeah.
no other time in your life are you going to have your kids like that excited and, to see animals, and at least not openly.
Yes.
um,
They'll hide it a little bit more as
they'll
they get
hide a little
older.
bit
So
more. Yeah. I'm sure they'll be excited, but like having young kids, just like, I just can't wait to experience that with Maggie. Um, or if you are spending time at the resort, if you're not doing rope drop to close, otherwise, like you said, you could always go and view the animals in different locations across the resort. Um, Second question is about deciding on the room type. So besides Savannah or not, as far as like regular room, even something as simple as regular room versus deluxe studio, because they're similar setups, but slightly different prices. Obviously, you're only going to get the standard rooms at Jambo House, not at Kidani, but you could get deluxe studios also at Jambo House. So, and you've got one bedroom villas versus one bedroom suite. So, like, what? This is the one place where it does get a little confusing between like you have almost the same room size but slightly different types. So, how do you help families navigate between those similar room setup options?
the biggest difference, I think, is, or when you're trying to weigh the options, is think about the first thing if you need to have a kitchenette. So if you want to have, a microwave, you want to have things like that, that a traditional standard room or, whatever view room is, that wouldn't have that, then I would say go for the deluxe studio because you're just going to have a little bit more options in terms of what you can have in your room. You could do breakfast in your room a little bit easier than you could if you're in just a standard hotel room. The other piece is going to be the bed setup. So if you have, two couples that are staying together, or you have, a family with older children, you may not want to do a studio because you're going to have that kind of fold out bed. So it's just not as comfortable probably as a, traditional bed. But the other thing that's nice about that too is that you kind of get that space back during the day. Whereas with a standard room, those beds are always out, right? So you're living, if you want to sit and eat, you're sitting and eating on the bed. But with the studio, it folds back in so you can kind of use that couch. You get a little bit extra space there. So I would think about how you're going to use that space. And then also if you do need to have those additional amenities that a studio will provide with the, kind of kitchenette area.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it too. You're right. The bed setup does make a big difference between those two different types of rooms, especially the deluxe studios versus the regular standard rooms are a big talking point or a big point to decide between the two. Um, I want to switch gears to dining. Before we do, I forgot to mention that important difference between Jambo House and Kidani Village, not related to dining, is parking. Um, the
I knew you were
big
going to pick parking.
Yeah, I only because I actually happen to rent a car, which I don't always do when I go to Disney. I usually, take some sort of service from, from the airport to the hotel and then just use Disney transportation. But because first of all, I got a great rate on the rental. I was like, I got a great deal, but also because I wanted the flexibility to be able to just come and go, especially on a podcast work trip. I can't hang around
It's
too
go, go,
long, so it's
go.
just go,
Yeah.
go, go. So I wanted that flexibility to be able to do that. Anyway, so yeah, the parking garage. I cannot even say, like, especially going in a summer month, if you are renting a car, if you're driving to Disney, having a parking garage to leave your car in during the heat of the summer is so invaluable, because if you have brought a car to Disney in the summer and parked it outside at any other resort or at a theme park during the day, and then you go back to your car, even for that midday resort break or to head to a resort for dinner, probably the worst time to go back to your car. You have to, like, open the windows, open the doors, let the 150 degrees outside of the car, and then get into it. But literally, there is so much parking. It's a confusing parking garage, but there are elevators. I had to go to my room and then work my way backwards to. All right, I needed to take it was the Rafiki elevator down to the Rafiki part of the parking garage. So when I got back the end of that day, I had to find the Rafiki section. Hope I found a spot over there or nearby. But there are all these, like, little elevators throughout the resort that pop up to the resort level, to the room levels. So um, having that just makes a big difference, I think, when it comes to the heat, or even if it's not hot, rain, because it rains in Central Florida all the time.
Yes.
So being able to get to your car and have it be dry, and have you be dry getting into your car, also makes a big difference. So if you are renting a car or driving to Disney, that could be a selling point for Kidani. You do not get that at Jambo House. It's completely out in the open. So I
Yeah.
love that. I wish they would have added more parking garages to more Disney resorts, because it was not the last resort to open. But I guess they just had the space. It's a very long resort, so lots of places to park your car. Uh,
Yeah, and I would say too,
yeah.
just if you do have little ones, think about that as, if it is raining, or if it is hot and you have to now get your little one in and out, it's that parking garage. It sounds like it's like, guys, it's a parking garage, but it really is so nice to have. And we were August travelers before I lived down here, so we were in the
Mhm.
heat of the summer, and it was so nice to have that.
We are the same way. But obviously, if you are like most people, if you're flying down, you're taking something like Mears Connect to the resort and you're using bus transportation. The good news is that since it is a deluxe property, most deluxe properties have that little awning that that keeps you dry and keeps
Yes.
you in the shade, walking to the bus. It's just like those little differences that the deluxe resorts make that you won't find at granted, the moderate resorts do have covered bus stations, but and in value, a lot of them are just out in the open. But it's like every level up you go, it's like, all right, we're going to cover the bus station in moderates, and we're not only going to cover the the bus station, but the walk to the bus station in the deluxe resorts.
Yeah.
Just those little differences. Um, Dining. So there's a lot of dining options at Animal Kingdom Lodge between Kidani Village and Jambo House. What is your go-to? And if you want to split it up by meal, you can split it up by meal. But what is your go-to at either one of these resorts?
You really can't go wrong at any of these restaurants. But I'll say my number one go to, and what I always recommend to families when they are staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge is Sanaa. I think that it is just an exceptional experience. I recommend doing lunch there because this is the restaurant that's at Kidani, and it has windows that look out onto the savannah. So you're eating and you're kind of getting the experience of seeing the animals. And it's just the team there is always incredible. The food is amazing. The bread service is chef's kiss. So good. So that's always my go-to. And then if I had to pick another one, which I always do, I would say Boma for just the amount of food that you can get there and also the different type of food that you can try. So because it is a buffet, you have the African flavors, but then there are some American options. So a lot of families are a little nervous about that if they have picky eaters. But one thing that Disney does great is there's always options for people that, may not want to be as adventurous. And Boma's a good way to kind of have a little bit more of a fun dining experience. But if you do have, a little one or even, one of the adults that only likes chicken fingers, that's good for them too.
Yeah, I was going to say Boma for any meal for that reason. I like having that ability to try something new without committing to it. Um,
Yes.
and so, you put a little bit of the African dishes, and by the way, they're all amazing. Like I have to say, like if you're not an
Incredible.
adventurous eater, there's nothing on there that I think for most people would be that intimidating. You might not know the spices, you might not know the names, but it's generally just a different flavor. But it's all very like comfort, wholesome, sometimes spicy food, but it's just really full of like really delicious flavors. Get some delicious stews, and it's African food at Boma is and Sanaa and Jiko are all really really good, and Boma's the place to get to sample a wide range of them. So that I agree. It's got that adventurous stuff you could try, and then you could go get your Mickey waffles and scrambled eggs if you want to do that too. So you have a nice little medley of things to choose from. I'm also gonna say, so I'll say that for breakfast. For dinner, I'm gonna say Jiko. I know people talk about Sanaa. Sanaa is obviously an incredible experience. I've eaten at Sanaa. The thing that it has over Jambo House is the animal viewing. I'm sorry, over Jiko is the animal viewing. So if you do get you're not guaranteed to get a view on the window. There are a few windows, but you might get a view literally like you are on the savannah. It's just crazy. The grass is right outside the window. The animals are right outside the window. Um, but Jiko, the food is incredible. And the full name of the restaurant is Jiko Flavors of Africa. And
Mhm.
the lamb shank there is probably one of the best dishes and something unique that you could get at Jiko. But they have some incredible appetizers as well. They have bread service, is not quite like Sanaa, but they have some bread service in the beginning. So Jiko's fantastic too. So I think we just named all three table service restaurants that are at
Yes.
the two resorts. But you do get a little bit more at Jambo House, which is the benefit over Kidani. I will say if you're staying at Kidani, that's probably the biggest challenge of Kidani Village is dining because you really are your options are Sanaa, or Sanaa um, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You technically could go to the pool bars outside
Yeah.
there's like a small to go section, like a market style to go section, but it's all prepackaged stuff over at Kidani Village, which is very common for just a vacation club resort. But uh, the fresh food is really just Sanaa. So I actually did just because I wanted to try it one morning. I think it was our last morning. Went down to Sanaa and they convert it. This is kind of a cool part of it though. They convert it into a quick service to go place. So
Yeah.
they change the bar. They like put out baskets in the bar, and they literally convert and they put out like breakfast menus at the bar, and you order your food at the bar, or you just pay for your items that you grab at the bar. But it's just very weird that they convert it into this sort of like grab and go quick service place in the middle of the bar. Just sort of breakfast tables pop up all over the place, and then the really nice aspect of it is I found that it was quiet when I went. Like I did not find a lot of people having breakfast at Sanaa. I don't maybe it's they didn't know about it or
Mhm.
they didn't really they were looking for something else, but I found it like really easy. You could literally when you walk in, you can eat it there or to go. But you get to pick whatever table you want. So if you want that Savannah view, just if there's a table available, you just walk over to that window, you grab that seat, and it's great. So I thought that was amazing. But if you are looking for the traditional quick service options, you do have to walk over or take the shuttle over to Jambo House, which is not that easy of a trek to get there. The resorts are so close to each other, but the lobbies are almost on opposite ends. You have to walk around because of the savannas, or take the shuttles around because of the savannas. So not that easy to do there. But yeah, Kidani, it's really just Sanaa. If you can't get a reservation, they have the Sanaa to go that you can mobile order and then pick up your food. But it's the menu at Sanaa, so it's really like it's almost like you're eating Indian food pretty much all the time if you're eating at Kidani Village. But then Jambo House, you have a lot more options.
Yeah, and I will say that the pool bar there, and it's I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it properly, so I'm going, it's Maji, so Mahi. Um, Pool Bar is actually a really, really good spot to grab lunch. They have incredible like pulled pork nachos. It's going to be the food from Sanaa that they're basically bringing over. So if you ever do get an option to go grab something there, I recommend it. And I don't really recommend any pool bar other than Bar Riva. So I'd say Bar Riva and this one are my top. So it's a good option, but this is where it's nice to have that kitchen. If you are staying in a one bedroom or you have that deluxe kitchenette, keep some, bread, cold cuts, whatever it is that you need for lunch or for breakfast and things like that, because you'll probably need to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we did. I mean, we again having rented a car, stopped at the supermarket on the way over to Kidani, picked up our goods to leave in the kitchen in our one bedroom villa, and then that's pretty much what we had for breakfast and then snacks during the day. But then, like I said, we did kind of branch out, and I did take the journey over to Jambo House just to test that out. And it's like a 5-10 minute walk, depending on your walking speed. And again, you could sort of hop on the bus, just make sure that Kidani's not the last stop. Because it depends on the bus. They might be going to Jambo House first or Kidani first, but you could technically hop on the bus and get over to Jambo House as well. But the Mara at Jambo House does have your more traditional quick service options. That being said, they have some really incredible African inspired dishes as well. I had for lunch a falafel dish, which is hard to find at Disney, and it was a vegetarian dish. I'm not vegetarian, but it was an incredible dish. So it had it had falafels, it had hummus, it had some like a yogurt sauce, and it was on like it had a bunch of vegetables in it. It was just really really good. And then of course I mentioned at the beginning that you don't have to go to Boma to get zebra domes. You can literally buy a 4 pack of zebra domes at the Mara or at the Johari Treasures in Kidani Village. So it's another nice benefit of staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge is those to-go options for zebra domes and anything else you might want to get. Um, I know a lot of folks who like the lounges also talk about Victoria Falls Lounge. I've personally never sat there. I love the theme, like just that whole setup of Victoria Falls Lounge is so nice. It's sort of positioned halfway between the lobby on the third floor and Boma on the first floor. It's got this real open feeling to it. It does have a waterfall nearby. Have you dined there before or had drinks there before?
I was going to say, Matt, I've dined there before.
I don't know for sure. There's a
I
lot of places at Disney. So
My husband and I do take it upon ourselves to research all of the lounges. So we have been here.
this is why we have you
Um,
on.
Yes, but no, we really, really like this spot because of the ambiance, but also if you are a wine fan, you need to go over to Jiko or to Victoria Falls because there's a really great wine list there. So it's, of course, African wines, and there's just different wines that you can try there than other locations. So great ambiance, great drinks, highly recommend it.
Good to know. Yeah, next time I want a cocktail, mocktail, whatever it might be, Victoria Falls Lounge might
Yeah,
be
good
the way
mocktails
to
there
go.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so that gives us a little bit more information about dining. The A few other things we should talk about. One of them is transportation, because that's another big important element of Animal Kingdom Lodge. For those who, I think a lot of people know this, but Animal Kingdom Lodge is at the far, far, far southwestern corner of Walt Disney World property. And when I say far, I mean when you are driving a bus or in your car or whatever to Kidani Village, you can literally look to your left behind the trees and you see Kissimmee shopping markets. Like it is literally right there. It's kind of crazy how far to the edge of property it is. Um, Transportation. So it's really comes down to buses, but how do you find the transportation to be at Animal Kingdom Lodge?
So I think because it is only buses and because it is a deluxe resort, you don't see the same frustrations that some people might have with like All Star, where it's all buses because you have so many people that are utilizing the buses. because it also is a DVC resort, you do get a lot of people that do drive as well because people are staying for extended periods of time. So, they might be renting a car or they might have driven down. So not as many people might be utilizing the buses as they would be at a value resort like an All-Star. So I've personally never had an issue. I've always, I've maybe waited, 15 minutes tops for a bus at a non-peak time, but it is something to think about that if you are staying there, you're not going to have another type of transportation option, and you're also going from Animal Kingdom to Magic Kingdom. It can be a little bit of a trek, but I've personally never had an issue with it, and if you're in the Disney bubble, it's just the best thing ever. So even if I'm on a bus, I'm good.
Yeah, I've never had a problem at either one of these resorts either. And I have come here I've only stayed here twice, but I have visited these resorts a lot for dinner. So I have taken the bus a number of times and I've found that it's very easy to, like to your point, you're never really waiting that long for a bus. And because the buses are so closely positioned to the lobbies and they're covered, it's never uncomfortable. It's just a very, they always have benches there. It's just a very great experience. And especially now with, of course, the wait times, so when the next bus is coming, it helps a lot. So you know that, okay, I've got to, it's 15 minutes, but it's 15 minutes as opposed to when you don't know that 15 minutes feels like forever. When it's like, all right, it's going to get here 15 minutes from now, just that time flies by. Um, but yeah, it's like an extra, except for obviously for Magic Kingdom, like hopping on the monorail is one thing, but short of being next door to Magic Kingdom, you're talking about compared to the Epcot Resort area or Pop Century All Star, like it's an extra 5 minutes. It's really
Hmm.
not that much farther. The so yeah, transportation is obviously very straightforward for this resort. But the other thing we haven't talked about yet is the activities and the pools. We kind of alluded to them a little bit, but the pool is where I think Kidani Village wins over Jambo House. It's one of the other areas that, like, if you are deciding between the two, the pool at Kidani Village is awesome. Not anything against Jambo House, but between the kids area, the splash pads, the the pools themselves, there's a lot of shade. The pool bar, and also over there is where they do the um, movies under the stars, is where they have that sort of like behind the pool bar there as well, right next to the pool. So it's just like a really one of the best pools on property. It might not be Storm Along Day, but it's very close in terms of its activities. But any other differences or things you want to discuss about the pools?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head with the kids area is really the big draw. If you also want something that's maybe a little bit more, low key, you have either option that you can take advantage of too when you're there. So you do have the Jumbo House pool, but then you can also head over to the Kidani Village. So there's a lot of different options, which is nice when you're staying there. But if you have kids, Kidani is definitely going to be the option that you want to go with.
Yeah. And in terms of activities, I always tell people if you want a resort day, it's so easy to have a resort day just filled with things to do. But I did take knowing I was going to want to do this episode, I did take a photo of the Jambo House activity board. Um, and here are some of the things you could do. Find a friend, which is every day throughout Jambo House. You search the resort for a hidden Pumbaa photo prop. Once located, snap a photo, and then head to Simba's activity center to receive a surprise. I believe it was Timon over at Kidani Village when I looked at the activity board there. You've got an arcade at Jambo House, an arcade at Kidani Village. You have Simba's activity center at Jambo House. You can design your own African jewelry and ceramics and other arts and crafts. Fees might apply for those. Anything that has fees is generally because you're bringing something home with you, so you're paying for the merchandise, not for the activity. You could take a Jambo House lobby art tour. That's 5 days a week at 11 a.m. at the lobby entrance. That's free. There's poolside activities that are every day of the week. Disney pin trading, arts and crafts, campfire, which is really, by the way, the fire pits that are and the fireplaces that are at Jambo House at Kidani Village are so tranquil and peaceful. You've got Kidani Community Hall, also over at Kidani Village, which is a typical addition for Disney Vacation Club resorts. the Arusha Savannah, which is the main savannah outside of Jambo House, nightly, every night from 6:30 to 7:30, you can roast complimentary marshmallows while looking out in the savannah. And because it is at night, they actually do. I don't know if they still do this, but you can get night vision goggles or use their night vision goggles to look at the animals in the distance. You can also buy s'mores kits for purchase for that campfire every night, again from 6:30 to 7:30. They have a glow party 3 days a week at the Uzima Springs pool deck at Jambo House. There's fitness centers at both places. You could do painting, and then I'm literally there's movies under the stars. I've been talking for 2-3 minutes now. Like there's just a lot that you could do in terms of activities, and not to mention the one thing that is now on my list that I forgot about is the Starlight Safari at Animal Kingdom
Yes.
Lodge. Kelly, I feel like did you do this? I feel like we talked about this. Yeah.
I did. So I did it a number of years ago when it used to be that you had to be a resort guest at Animal Kingdom Lodge to do it. Now it's open to all guests, but there is an age limit, so it does have to be 8 and older. And it's really an awesome experience. Not terribly priced either. I can't remember exactly what the price was, but it's not, what we kind of expect for Disney, like a tour experience. It's going to be more on that like moderate level in terms of price. But really cool experience. They take you out onto one of the safari trucks and they give you the night vision goggles. And I mean, animals are, coming up to the trucks sometimes, which is probably why they have it at that age limit too, because you are in the dark and there's animals and you need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
But you always have a great guide too, that's kind of walking you through the process of, what animals there are and pointing them out and everything.
Yeah, again, it's on my list, and it's probably going to be something for when my daughters are a little bit older. But that's definitely going to be something that I'm looking forward to. Before we get to some final wrap up thoughts, I wanted to actually get to some questions that were sent in from social media that I haven't really looked at yet because I posted this question earlier today to see if there were any other questions. And there were some, when I just checked earlier, there were some good ones that came up. We talked about the Savannah View room that came up a lot, like I said. We talked about actually, someone asked, how long does it take to get from to Magic Kingdom from this resort? So we talked about that, basically about 15 minutes. Lots of questions about the buses. Uh, the Dave, can I fit in your suitcase next time you visit? We'll see. We'll see. Um, I'll hook you up with Kelly. It's going to be a lot easier. She can get you there in a much more comfortable situation. Um, renovation. So I think they've been doing renovations for the rooms. Have they? I didn't get a renovated room, Kelly, but have you seen? It looked like the standard room options were the ones I noticed even in the photos looking at Animal Kingdom Lodge. We're getting the or sorry, not just the standard rooms, but like the deluxe resort part of not the studios, not the villas. We're getting renovated. Have you seen? Do you know the timeline for that at all, or if they're still in the process of updating those rooms? They've been doing that to a lot of resorts.
Yeah, so I just looked, and usually Disney will have kind of an alert if they are renovating anything. It will be on the resort page if you go and look on their website. And there's nothing listed right now for it. So that likely means that they're through their renovations or they're very kind of minimal renovations that they're working on. The last time that I was there was less than a year ago, and it didn't impact my stay at all. So likely they're just kind of, more aesthetic type of renovations that they're going through. But I was in a old room, quote unquote. And I'll say, even with that, the resort has been kept very well. Where I think there are some resorts that I kind of will say, hey, it's looking a little, a little old. We kind of need to refresh it. But they've done a really good job at keeping this resort fresh and clean and, where the standards that we expect from Disney.
Yeah, it's even the I had an older room wasn't renovated recently, at least for Kidani Village in the 1 bedroom villa, but I had no problem with it. It was great. This was actually a great question that we forgot to talk about. Really quick point, but do they still have talks by cast members about where the cast members are from? I don't know if they have talks about it, but there are cultural representatives at Animal Kingdom Lodge, just like at Animal Kingdom, which is a great little cultural aspect to the lodge that adds to the overall Animal Kingdom experience. Just scrolling down, seeing what else. Do you still get a Disney feeling being there? Because this is specifically calling out some of the more, it seems like value resorts like Art of Animation and All Star. But obviously, the specific question this came from Melissa was, does it still give Disney feels like Art of Animation or All Star? I think it's different. All Star and Art of Animation, it's a little bit more literal Disney feeling, right? You have literally like the animation, like that's a very different theme than Animal Kingdom Lodge. But I mean, I saw there were Lion King touches, like I said, in my room, but otherwise, I feel like it definitely gives me Animal Kingdom feels. The that Disney standard, that Disney level of theming, especially in a deluxe resort. But Kelly, what do you feel about that question?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's not going to be in your face Disney where there's, these larger than life characters that are outside of your room and things like that. But it's kind of what gives you the Disney feel. So if, for me, the Disney feel is going to be that level of service that I get, the kind of idea where I can be in a different place than Central Florida. And I think that if one resort does that the best, it probably is Animal Kingdom Lodge. So for me, I think this is like quintessential Disney. But if you're a family that's looking for, to have the Disney characters and things like this, like that, maybe that's not the right fit for your family. That then I would probably say check out, Art of Animation, really great option for something like that.
Yeah, of course, I start with the two resorts and this recurring podcast series that I hope we'll get to all of them. But I start with the two of them that are probably like the least, the least like
Yes, yeah.
Disney character type of resorts are in Coronado Springs and Animal Kingdom Lodge. Two other questions, and then we'll get to a wrap up one. What is your favorite way to enjoy being around the animals at Animal Kingdom Lodge?
So I love, of course, having the Savannah view and you're able to be there and, look out onto the Savannah. But I also just love, right outside of Jambo House, when you walk out that back area, there's usually a cultural representative that's standing there and engage with those individuals because the amount of knowledge that they have and the stories that they can share is just incredible. I mean, if you're doing a rest day or even if you go over there to get lunch at Sanaa or, you're getting lunch at Boma, wherever it may be, take some time to go out and do that because you can spend a whole afternoon just learning from those representatives and learning about the animals that are there because they'll point out things that, you never would have known just kind of standing there and looking at them.
Yeah, other than having a Savannah View room, I agree it's probably the best way. But I'm actually going to say specifically at Kidani Village, I like their animal viewing more because I think it was designed, it was 8 years later. I think they kind of learned from Jambo House. Uh, so again, you enter into the lobby, you go down the stairs or down the elevator to the animal viewing level, and you walk out a sort of direct pathway straight out into, it's not the middle of the savannah, but it's pretty far out, and then you're surrounded on three sides by savannah, and you can't get that at Jumbo House. So it's that
Yeah,
to me
that's a
is
good
my
point.
favorite place to spot the animals, and a reason that Kidani Village. Because like each one has its pros and cons. That pro goes to Kidani Village. The animal viewing there is really amazing. Plus, not only that, but just like I said earlier, walking out of the lobby, just being able to sit on some rocking chairs and a covered balcony and look out at the animals is pretty cool too. That has some really great, very close animals. I have some great videos from there. And then the second question is any other hidden details or hidden gems in the resorts that you love that maybe people don't notice or that we haven't talked about?
So I don't know how hidden it is, but if you're a pin trader, Kingpin is a cast member that they have come out, and I do have the time. Let me check because it's only once a week, or I'm sorry, it's 3 times a week. So it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but only for an hour. So 1:45 to 2:45 p.m. And Kingpin comes out and he's in the Jumbo House lobby area, and he has a huge pin board plus a staff that has all these pins on it. And it's really an experience to trade with him. So it will get long lines for this, but if you're a pin trader, it's really cool to do. And if you're also just a person that likes to people watch, this is a really fun people watching spot because you get to kind of see him interact with the kids and with people that are just, super excited to find a pin that's a little bit different because he has so many pins that are on there.
Yeah, my that's a great answer. My favorite little hidden gem that I think a lot of people pass and miss is one of the points I talked about in the very beginning of this episode, the artwork at both resorts. It's like walking through a mini African art museum, just surrounded by African art throughout both resorts. And that is cool. It's like, and I do love going to museums, and whether it's an art museum or a history museum, and it kind of blends the two. And it's really interesting to see all this true. Again, this is one of the largest collections of African art outside of Africa. So it's a pretty amazing thing to talk about and to go and see and experience. And the other thing is they went really extra on the elevators at Kidani Village. They have stone floors, and in the elevators at Kidani Village, like just a little detail that is so cool, that it makes it feel a little bit more like connected to the natural world. This sort of like rock stone floor, and even the doors have these artwork embellishments on them. It's just really an amazing detailed resort that most people are not going to notice that level of detail, or they might see it and not think about it. But it's like, yeah, this is not just your standard hotel elevator. Like, it's got some really, even just the elevator has art in it. So it's really cool to see the art. I think that's the hidden gem that not enough people talk about. They know the animals, they don't talk enough about the cultural and artistic elements of the resort. So that'll be my answer for that. Final question: why should someone consider staying here?
So this is probably going to be a, weird answer, but I don't think Animal Kingdom Lodge is for every family, because of how far it's set out of the parks and things like that. But I think it's a great option for a lot of families. So if you have, maybe you're a mix of Disney fans and non-Disney fans in your family, this is a great option for that family, because it is something where you can feel a little disconnected from the Disney World, but still be close enough to the parks and get those benefits when you do want to go into the parks. I think too, for the families that are going to maybe spend an extended time down in Central Florida. So if you have, a week and you're going to do the parks for 4 days or 5 days and you have those rest days, this is a great option because you're not going to have to spend extra money to have things to do on your rest day, and you're not going to have to go anywhere else. So you can really take advantage of those different amenities that we talked about, those different activities, and even just doing the, walking around, looking at the art and things like that. And I think too, if you have, a couple that has a young child that, you're going to be going back and forth for nap time, this is another great option. Having a Savannah View room, you're going to have that time that's kind of your downtime. There's something that you can do where you're not just, sitting in the room. So for some reason, for some families, I don't think it's the best pick, but I think for a lot of families, this is a really good fit. And one that I love to talk about because of just the differences that are here versus the other Disney resorts.
Yeah, if you love the theming of Animal Kingdom, this is definitely the resort for you. And yeah, if you don't mind, like if you don't need that walk to Epcot or that walk to Magic Kingdom or the Skyliner or the monorail, if you don't mind having a little bit more of a trek, fits with the theme from your hotel, then this is definitely a place to stay. I agree with you. If you're going to have more of a resort based vacation, this is really a place that's worth going. If you're just flying down, if you're doing what I did for the podcast trip, like if you're just flying down, going to the parks, boom, 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 not spending a lot of time at the hotel, you might not get as much out of it. But I think it's really great for those who are also into that idea of visiting an African reserve lodge, but it's done with Disney service in a really amazing way with live animals. It's the only resort that has, at least to this scale, live animals that you can go and see. And have those cultural and artistic connections. The food is amazing there. So that's, if you're looking for that type of experience, I agree. This is probably the place to stay. Whereas if you want that, talk about lodges, if you're looking for a lodge, you want to go to a park a lot, maybe Wilderness Lodge is the way to go because you got that boat ride to Magic Kingdom, and it's just a really quick bus ride down to Epcot. So we'll have to talk about Wilderness Lodge in another time. I think I need another research trip. I enjoyed my last stay there a lot, and I need to go back and experience it again. But I do want to make sure, you've been on the show many times, but I want to make sure people are interested in learning more about how to stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge or anywhere else where they could go to work with KMV Travel and work with you.
Yeah, so you can reach out to us at kmvtravel.com. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, KMV Travel. On Instagram, we're KMV Travel Co. But definitely reach out if you do have questions about anything. Feel free to DM us. Always happy to talk Disney, as Matt knows. So I hope that I get a chance to help some of your listeners get down there and get to experience Animal Kingdom Lodge or other resorts too.
I hope so too. And Kelly, we'll have you back again for another resort episode for sure, if not sooner than that. Last question. I know I said that was going to be the last question, but last rapid fire question. Favorite attraction at Disney's Animal Kingdom?
I have to say Everest, or my husband might divorce me. So definitely Everest, but Everest would win it anyway. I think that's an incredible attraction.
And I have to say Kilimanjaro Safaris because I used to work there and it'd be sacrilegious not to say that. Plus it just taking that out of the equation, it's an amazing attraction. So that's going to be my answer. Welcome back to Imagination Central. As you disembark, please remember to remain fully seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop. Then gather your belongings and watch your head and step as you exit. Also be sure to check out Kelly's team at KMV Travel. Having had the opportunity to meet these agents in person, thanks so much for the invite, and having known Kelly for many years now, I can say confidently this entire group can help make your next Disney vacation even more magical. You can learn more at kmvtravel.com/skyway or follow them online at KMV Travel. After you exit the episode, I encourage you to engage with the show by following Imagination Skyway on your favorite social media app. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to share it with anyone who might enjoy our discussion today and leave us a rating or review in your favorite podcast app. If you're listening on Spotify or already following us on social media, be sure to answer our question associated with this episode, which is for you to tell me which resort you would like us to discuss next. There's many left to uncover, and that includes at Walt Disney World and at Disneyland and beyond. In addition, be sure to explore Imagination Skyway on the Patreon app or at patreon.com, where you can enjoy bonus content, join a private community of listeners, and help support the show. Our Patreon members literally have kept the podcast running since 2017, and it is not hyperbole to say that without our Patreon subscribers, this show would not be possible. So as always, I want to extend my sincerest thanks to every Patreon member listening, past or present, and perhaps even future. Plus, if you're looking for more short-form content that covers the latest Disney news, be sure to check out my other podcast, Imagination Skyway News. Episodes are usually about 5 to 6 minutes in length, offering bite-sized overviews of the latest Disney news, providing nothing but the facts and making sure you are up to date with what's happening at the Disney parks and beyond. Thank you so much for riding aboard Imagination Skyway, and remember, if we can dream it, we can do it.